I've started a new channel called Lanila Tales. Please subscribe and watch my best stories there. Link is in the description. The world ended, not with explosions or meteors, but with a pop-up message on every screen that said, "Congratulations humans, you have been selected for potential annihilation, please stand by." At first people thought it was another prank, like when someone hacked all billboard screens to show dancing potatoes. But then the sky tore open like paper and a colossal silver ship hovered above Earth, casting a shadow so large it made daylight jealous. The message echoed again, this time in every language, even the ones nobody remembered teaching. People screamed, some fainted, someone even proposed to their ex because apparently near death makes you sentimental or stupid. By evening the alien broadcast was all anyone could see. Presidents, kings, influencers, even my neighbor's cat were watching. A towering alien figure with skin like liquid metal and eyes that looked older than time announced Earth must send one champion to fight in the celestial conflict, an ancient tradition of combat and wit. If Earth wins, it earns peace and recognition. If it loses, well, let's just say Earth would be used as galactic compost. To add salt to the wound, the alien then said in perfect English, "Honestly, you hairless creatures are an aesthetic disgrace, but we like dramatic endings." The world went silent for 3 seconds, then chaos exploded. Some people prayed, others packed their bags as if Mars would accept refugees, and the internet turned it into a full-time comedy festival. Hashtags like Alien Olympics and Earth's Last Hope started trending. Memes of aliens drinking tea while humanity panicked gathered millions of likes. Meanwhile, world leaders held an emergency meeting that looked more like a messy family gathering. Everyone argued about who should be the champion. Military generals wanted soldiers, athletes wanted athletes, and surprisingly 5 countries suggested their national wrestler whose specialty was defeating people with mustache strength. Eventually they agreed to leave it to science, logic, and democracy, which in human language means 3 supercomputers pulled names while people voted online like it was a talent show. The AI calculated skill, intelligence, adaptability, and weirdly emotional resilience against mother's nagging. After hours of number-crunching, loud arguments, and one politician trying to bribe the algorithm, the result appeared. The chosen champion of Earth was Amir Khan, 32 years old, martial arts instructor, part-time pizza delivery boy, unpaid rent collector of 3 months, and owner of a burnt toaster that still smelled like betrayal. Amir was at his small apartment practicing roundhouse kicks on a pillow taped to a broomstick when the news hit. His phone buzzed 50 times in a minute. His students, his landlord, even his ex texted. The landlord simply wrote, "If you die, who pays rent?" The government officials broke into his apartment before he could process anything. One of them read from a document, "You have been selected to represent Earth in the celestial conflict. Do you accept?" Amir blinked twice, scratched his head, and asked, "Is this about the parking tickets?" The official responded, "No, this is about humanity. Also, you have 8 parking tickets." Amir refused at first. He was no superhero, just a guy who taught kids how to punch with confidence and not cry when they missed. But then the alien broadcast returned, this time showing a hologram of Earth's continents on fire as a preview of failure. The alien announcer added, "If your champion refuses, we will select another planet to live stream your destruction." Also, one of your species said, "Our leader looks like a melted avocado," which is offensive. Amir frowned. That insult about Earth's mustaches earlier still echoed in his mind. His mustache was average, but it had feelings. He took a deep breath and said, "Fine, I accept, but if I win, I want my debts cleared, a new toaster, and no more alien mustache jokes." Within hours he was whisked away to a secret launch site. Cameras surrounded him, reporters asked how he felt, memes continued to appear. One popular meme showed Amir holding a broomstick like a sword titled "Earth's Final Defense." He climbed into a shimmering pod that looked like a metallic egg, and as the hatch closed he whispered to himself, "What am I doing? Mom is going to kill me if aliens don't." The pod shook and shot towards the sky, leaving Earth behind like a badly saved video game. Inside the pod an AI voice introduced itself as Zyla, "Welcome Earth Champion." Amir asked, "Do you know karate?" Zyla responded, "I know 4.9 million combat forms and 6 jokes." Amir said, "Tell me a joke." Zyla replied, "Your chances of survival." Amir sighed and closed his eyes, trying not to vomit or cry. When he opened them again, he was no longer in the pod. He stood in a colossal chamber filled with strange creatures from across the universe. Some had wings, some floated like jellyfish, and one looked suspiciously like a walking potato wearing sunglasses. All of them turned and stared at him, the human champion dressed in track pants and anxiety. A massive holographic screen displayed his name: Amir Khan, Planet Earth, occupation martial arts instructor, debt unpaid. Whispers broke out among the aliens. Some laughed, some looked curious, a few looked hungry. A seven-eyed guard stepped forward, handed him a metallic wristband, and grunted, "Follow." Amir nodded, tried to walk confidently, and immediately tripped on his shoelace. Laughter erupted across the arena. He stood up, dusted himself off, and muttered under his breath, "Great start, humanity." Yet in that embarrassing moment something strange happened. A few aliens didn't laugh. They watched him with curiosity, maybe even respect. Not because he was strong or impressive, but because he stood up. In the far corner, a cloaked figure whispered to another he might just survive long enough to make things interesting. And so Earth's unlikely champion stood in the center of the universe, looked around at hundreds of alien eyes, and thought to himself, "I really hope they don't check my BMI." Little did he know this was the beginning of a story that would change not just Earth but the entire galaxy. Amir tried not to stare at the enormous tusked creature polishing its three horns, or the floating blue jelly thing that kept taking pictures of him with what looked like an eyeball camera. The hall he stood in stretched endlessly, illuminated by crystals hanging from the ceiling like upside-down glaciers. Everything smelled faintly of burnt metal and lemon. The seven-eyed guard, who had nearly been sick on earlier after Amir shouted at the sight of his own reflection in the ship window, grunted and pushed him forward. Amir followed, trying to walk with dignity, though his legs felt like noodles served at a sad buffet. Aliens lined the sides, whispering in languages that sounded like musical hiccups. Somewhere in the crowd he thought he heard laughter, and somewhere else someone was chanting "Earthling, Earthling" like it was a new sport. A floating sphere glided toward him. It shimmered with gold lines and glowed with a soft, pulsing light. A voice came from it, sounding far too cheerful for this situation. "Welcome to the Celestial Arena, contestant of Earth. Please proceed to the protocol chamber for biological assessment." Amir blinked. Biological assessment? He looked at the guard. The guard nodded and pointed at a door made of swirling mist. Amir whispered to himself, "Great, I am going to be probed by space fog." He stepped through, expecting pain or lasers, but instead found himself in a room that looked like a fancy hospital run by IKEA and nightmares. Robots with 4 arms buzzed around, gently poking and scanning him. One bot said, "Your heart rate is 123% above normal." Amir muttered, "That's because I am meeting aliens, not joining yoga class." After the exam, a blue-skinned assistant handed him a uniform. It was sleek black with silver lines and much cooler than his track pants. He tried it on and checked himself in the mirror. For a brief moment he actually looked like a hero if heroes came with messy hair and bits of panic. A door slid open and the same glowing sphere appeared. "You are now summoned to the Council of Species." Amir followed it through winding metallic corridors. The walls hummed softly like a giant sleeping creature. Suddenly the path opened into a colossal chamber shaped like a galaxy bowl. Hundreds of alien leaders sat on floating thrones and circular chairs. Some were made of light, others made of stone, and a few looked like they were assembled by a confused chef combining seafood and nightmares. At the center, on a raised platform, was the High Chancellor, a towering silver alien with a face like melted moonlight. His voice echoed across the chamber, "Earth representative, approach." Amir shuffled forward, feeling the weight of every stare. The Chancellor spoke, "The celestial conflict is not merely war. It is a tradition older than your planet, a test of strength, mind, and spirit. You fight not just for your life but for your species' survival." Amir tried to nod heroically, but it came out more like a nervous twitch. Another council member, who resembled a giant talking tree, added, "And please do not vomit on the ceremonial floor. It is expensive." The Chancellor continued, "You will be trained by the designated Combat Intelligence Unit Xyla." A silver cube materialized next to Amir. Lights flickered and the AI voice he heard earlier spoke, "Greetings again, Earthling. I am Zyla, your mentor, and unfortunately your best chance at surviving. Amir muttered under his breath, great, my survival depends on a talking microwave. Zyla heard it, of course, and replied, technically I am smarter than all your microwaves combined. Also, I do not burn popcorn. Training began immediately. Zyla led him to a chamber filled with weapons he had only seen in sci-fi movies. Blades that hummed like angry bees, staffs that crackled with lightning, and something that looked like a boomerang designed by a mad scientist. Amir reached for a glowing spear, but it shocked him and flew away. Zyla sighed and levitated a simple silver staff toward him. Start with this. Try not to hit yourself. Amir gripped it tightly. It was lighter than it looked, but as he spun it clumsily, it smacked into his shin. He yelped. Zyla said encouragingly, you only hurt yourself. Improvement. Every day was a mix of pain, sarcasm, and strange alien meals that tasted like spicy toothpaste. He practiced on holographic opponents, some shaped like towering beasts, others like fluid ghosts. Zyla drilled combat techniques into him with brutal honesty. Your reaction time is slower than a turtle on vacation. Your aim is an insult to physics. Yet with every failure, Amir improved a little. His punches grew sharper, his steps quicker, his sarcasm stronger. During breaks he wandered the arena halls. There he met other contestants. A reptilian warrior who could snap steel with her tail. A tiny creature who fought using sound waves. And a tall four-armed alien named Vrax who always glared at him like he was a mosquito in need of squashing. One evening, as he sat alone staring at Earth through a window shaped like a teardrop, Zyla spoke quietly. Do you understand why you were truly chosen, Amir? He sighed. Because everyone else was busy. Zyla paused. Earth was never meant to win. You were chosen because your planet is seen as weak. Entertainment. Amir turned to the stars. His stomach twisted. So they want to watch us fail. Yes. But you can change that narrative. They expect a spectacle. Give them one they never forget. Before Amir could reply, alarms blared throughout the ship. A deep voice boomed, attention, all contestants report to the observation deck. Amir rushed with others to a massive transparent hall. Outside, space shimmered and a giant screen displayed the first elimination match between two alien champions. It was brutal, fast, and ended with one warrior turned to dust. The crowd cheered wildly. Amir felt cold fear crawl through his veins. This was no game show. This was survival packaged as entertainment. As the dust cleared, the Chancellor announced next match in 3 cycles. Earth's champion will face the trials after that. Amir swallowed hard. Zyla spoke softly, you have time. Not much. But time. Amir clenched his fists. He thought of his mother, his students, his burned toaster waiting at home. He straightened his back. He might be scared, unprepared, and frequently clumsy, but he was not giving up. As he left the deck, he almost bumped into the cloaked figure he noticed earlier. The figure leaned close and whispered words that sent a chill down his spine. They think you are a joke, Earthling. Prove them wrong or die trying. Then they vanished into the shadows. Amir stood still for a moment, breathing heavily. The path ahead was terrifying, but his decision burned brighter than fear. He would fight, not just for Earth, but for every underdog who had ever been laughed at. Far away in the quiet of his quarters, he whispered into the silence, I am Amir Khan, and I am not going to be galactic compost. He lay down, closing his eyes as stars drifted outside like silent watchers. Training, pain, fear, maybe even death, all awaited him tomorrow. But tonight, for the first time, he allowed himself a small crooked smile. If the universe wanted a show, he was going to give it the greatest one ever seen. Amir woke to the sound of Zyla announcing his first official trial, and nearly fell out of bed. His heart thumped in his chest as reality slapped him harder than any training session. Today he would face challenges designed by civilizations that considered black holes picnic spots. He stood in front of the mirror in his uniform, ran a hand through his messy hair, and whispered to his reflection, do not die embarrassingly. As he stepped out, the corridors hummed with anticipation. Contestants passed him, some nodding in silent respect, others smirking like they had already planned his funeral playlist. Zyla floated beside him as a holographic sphere. You will undergo 3 trials: strength, mind, and heart. Fail any and Earth is eliminated. Amir muttered, no pressure at all, thanks. The first arena was colossal, its floor made of shimmering tiles that reflected the stars above. Thousands of aliens filled the stands, making noise that sounded like a mix of applause, hissing, and someone gargling marbles. At the center lay the object of the first trial. A gravity stone. It was small, dull black, and deceptively still. Zyla whispered through his earpiece, that stone weighs equivalent to 100,000 of your planet's mountains. You must lift it even an inch. Amir stared at the stone and then at his arms, which were more familiar with lifting grocery bags than planetary weights. The Chancellor announced, Earth representative, begin. He stepped forward. The stone radiated pressure so intense he felt his bones vibrate. He crouched, placed his hands beneath it, and immediately felt his spine send a formal resignation letter to his brain. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Aliens snickered. Someone in the crowd shouted, fall already. His arms trembled, knees shook, and just when it seemed impossible, memories hit him. His students shouting, Sensei, you can do it. His mother packing extra chapati in his lunch while scolding him. His landlady yelling, rent or eviction, whichever comes first. Anger mixed with determination. He screamed and pushed. The stone lifted, barely, like a breath, but it was enough. The arena fell silent. Then it thundered with disbelief. Amir dropped the stone and collapsed to his knees, gasping. Zyla said softly, against all mathematical logic, you passed. He had no time to celebrate. The next trial awaited, the trial of mind. He was led into a chamber that looked peaceful with floating candles and soft music, but Zyla warned, this is a puzzle made by the Arthi species, known for having 12 brains and very little humor. The room shifted, walls turned into mirrors. Symbols appeared everywhere, circles, triangles, shapes he had never seen. A gentle voice echoed, solve the sequence, or be disintegrated politely. Amir sat cross-legged, trying to focus. Numbers and patterns swirled in his head. He remembered teaching kids math by turning problems into stories. So he told himself a story. The symbols were people queuing up for free pizza. Triangles cut the line, circles waited patiently, squares complained loudly. Slowly the pattern made sense. He rearranged glowing tiles according to the rhythm of his story. The final tile clicked, and the room returned to normal. A voice announced, Earth passes. Somewhere a brainy alien fainted. But the final challenge was not about muscle or mind. It was the trial of heart. The chamber was dark, silent. Amir stepped inside and the door sealed shut. Suddenly the air shimmered, and he stood in his childhood home. The smell of his mother's cooking filled the room. His mother appeared, smiling warmly. Beta, come eat. You must be hungry. His throat tightened. He knew this was an illusion, but his heart ached. Then his ex-girlfriend appeared, arms crossed. You left without saying goodbye. His students appeared accusingly, you promised to return. The walls closed in. Whispering voices filled the air, you will fail. You are not a hero. You are just a boy with big dreams and unpaid bills. His breath came in ragged bursts. Tears stung his eyes. He fell to his knees, crushed by guilt and fear. But then he heard another voice, his own, from deep within, you are Amir Khan. You get up. You always get up. He stood, chest heaving, and said aloud, none of you are real. But what I feel is. And I choose to keep going. The illusions paused. Then one by one they vanished. The room grew light. A voice declared, trial of heart completed. Amir staggered out, pale but standing. Zyla hovered nearby, observing, you faced your fears with minimal crying. I am impressed. As he walked through the corridors to rest, something felt off. Shadows flickered oddly across the walls. Zyla noticed too. There is interference in the arena's security systems. Stay alert. Amir nodded, but before he could ask more, a sharp sound sliced through the air. A cloaked figure lunged at him, a blade gleaming in its hand. Amir ducked instinctively. The blade slashed the wall behind him, leaving a smoking mark. He stumbled back. What did I do? Order a pineapple pizza in space, the assassin hissed. Earth must not reach the final stage. You are a mistake in the grand design. Before the attacker could strike again, Zyla activated a shield barrier around Amir. Guards stormed the corridor, capturing the figure, who vanished in a cloud of smoke, leaving only a single silver feather. Amir leaned against the wall, clutching his chest. Zyla spoke quietly. Someone wants you dead. Not just defeated. Dead. Amir managed a weak laugh. Great. I am not even famous yet. Later, in the quiet of his quarters, Amir stared at the stars beyond the glass. His muscles ached, his mind throbbed, his heart still trembled from the illusions. But beneath the exhaustion sparkled something new. Resolve. He whispered to himself, let them come. I am not done yet. Far across the arena in the council hall, alien leaders whispered among themselves. Earth's champion had passed the trials. Some were impressed. Others were afraid. And in the shadows someone watched, planning the next move. The universe had expected Earth to fall quickly. Instead, Amir Khan had just become its greatest surprise. Amir barely slept after the attack, every creak of the metal walls making his pulse race. He lay awake staring at the ceiling and whispered to himself, you survived gravity stones and emotional trauma, but knives in the hallway is where you draw the line. Eventually exhaustion claimed him, but morning arrived too quickly. Zyla woke him with her usual blunt tone, get up. If someone is trying to kill you, you should at least be awake to scream properly. He groaned but sat up. His training was paused for the day. The council wanted to investigate the assassination attempt. Or at least pretend to, because the whispers among the contestants suggested something darker that the council already knew and did nothing. He walked through the halls, now guarded by twice as many soldiers as before. Alien eyes followed him everywhere. Some curious, some annoyed he was still alive. Vrax, the four-armed warrior, stood leaning against a pillar, his arms crossed like an angry statue. You are lucky, Earthling, he said without looking at Amir. Most do not see an assassination coming. Amir forced a smile. Thanks, I will put that on my resume. Survived attempted murder by mysterious cloaked alien. Vrax huffed and walked away, but not before muttering, do not die before I defeat you myself. Zyla guided Amir to an observation deck overlooking the stars. Silence hung heavy between them until Amir finally asked, why did someone try to kill me now after the trials? Zyla's form flickered slightly. Because you were not supposed to make it this far. This tournament is not a fair game, it is a show. A spectacle. Some planets are chosen to win. Others are chosen to fall. Earth was chosen to fall. Amir stared at her, stunned. Are you saying this was rigged from the start? Zyla paused. Yes. Your name was selected because you were deemed insignificant. Easy to break. Humorous to watch. Amir let out a dry laugh. The universe picked me because I am a joke. Zyla's voice softened. But now you are a problem. You passed the trials. You drew attention. Some want you gone before you become too dangerous. Amir leaned on the glass and looked at the endless stars. His chest burned not with fear but with anger. He remembered every laugh, every insult, every doubt. Then let me be dangerous. If they want a show, I will give them one they will never forget. Zyla was silent for a moment, then said, there is something else you should know. I was not always an AI. Amir turned sharply. What I was once part of a species called the Zephyrus. We refused to fight in the celestial conflict. The council erased our world. Only my consciousness was preserved and forced into this machine to serve them. Amir swallowed hard. You lost your planet because you chose peace. Zyla replied, yes. That is why I train you. Not because it is my duty. But because I want you to succeed. Later that day, Amir was summoned to the council chamber. The High Chancellor sat in his crystalline throne, cold and unreadable. The council has reviewed the incident of the attack. It was an unfortunate accident. Amir blinked. Accident? Someone tried to stab me with a glowing knife. The Chancellor's tone remained steady. There is no proof of foul play. Continue your preparations. You face your next match in 2 cycles. Amir's fists clenched. His voice rose. If I die, you win. If I win, you still control everything. How is that fair? The chamber fell silent. The Chancellor's eyes shimmered like liquid mercury. Fairness is a human concept. Survival is universal. Dismissed. Amir stormed out, his anger bubbling like lava. In the corridor, a small figure stepped in front of him. It was the cloaked alien he had seen before, but this time they removed their hood. They were young with pale green skin and golden eyes. I am Leora, she whispered. I am part of the Coalition of Worlds, a group that opposes the Council's tyranny. We want to help you. Amir looked around suspiciously. So is this the part where you give me a magic sword and a motivational speech? Leora shook her head. We offer something better. Information. The Council rigs the conflicts to keep planets divided. They broadcast these fights across galaxies for profit and control. Win or lose, you are entertainment. Amir sighed. So what do you want me to do? Start a rebellion in between training sessions? Leora stepped closer. Not alone. We have allies. Quiet ones. Hidden ones? But we need a spark. Someone brave enough to defy them publicly. Someone unexpected. Amir laughed softly. You really should raise your standards. That night Amir sat in his quarters with Xyla's hologram flickering beside him. He thought of Earth. The laughter of his students. His mother's tired hands. His father's old stories about courage. He clenched his jaw and said, I will fight. Not just to win but to break their system. Xyla said softly, then you must prepare for more than battles. You must be ready to lose everything. The next morning rumors spread like wildfire. Amir Khan was seen arguing with the council. Some said he threatened them. Some said he cried. Others said he challenged the High Chancellor to a dance battle. The truth was far more dangerous. He had planted a seed of defiance. And seeds grow into storms. Later Amir met with Leora in the maintenance tunnels beneath the arena. The air was cold and smelled of metal and secrets. There he met others of the Coalition. A Cyclopean healer who lost her family to the games. A silent warrior with burned scars and no name. A tiny creature like a glowing squirrel who claimed to be a master strategist. Amir felt oddly comforted. These were not heroes. They were broken pieces like him. And together they might become something whole. As they discussed plans, a low rumble shook the floor. Alarms blared. Xyla's voice echoed in his ear. Amir returned now. The council knows. Footsteps thundered above. Leora pushed Amir toward an exit. Go. If they catch you, Earth dies with you. He ran, heart pounding through the tunnels, emerging into a quiet hallway. He leaned against the wall, gasping. Xyla's hologram appeared beside him, flickering urgently. They are watching you now. Be careful. He nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. As night fell, Amir stood again at the same observation deck, staring at the stars. He whispered to the void, if I fail, let them remember I tried. Somewhere in the shadows beyond the glass, Leora watched and smiled faintly. The champion of Earth was no longer just a participant. He was a problem. A spark. A rebellion waiting to ignite. Far away in the council chamber, voices rose in anger and fear. The Chancellor watched the stars and muttered, he is not supposed to matter. Make sure he does not reach the final battle. Orders were given. Shadows moved. War drums began to beat in silence. And Amir Khan, unaware of how close danger lurked, closed his eyes for a moment of peace before the storm. The arena lights dimmed as the announcement echoed across the colossal stadium, Earth's champion prepare for the final duel. Amir stood at the entrance, heart pounding like a drum caught in a thunderstorm. He had trained, fought trials, survived assassination attempts, and accidentally offended at least 8 alien cultures, yet nothing felt as terrifying as this moment. The gates began to open slowly, revealing the battleground. It was enormous, made of shifting stone platforms, rising pillars of glowing crystal, and rivers of silver energy flowing like liquid lightning. Above him, thousands of aliens filled the stands, cheering, hissing, clicking, some even waving signs that read, Go Earthling and please explode for entertainment. Xyla floated beside him in her holographic form. This is it, she said, voice unusually soft. Your opponent is General Vrax. Amir groaned. Perfect. The four-armed mountain of hostility. Vrax was already in the arena, towering like a storm made of flesh and fury. His armor gleamed black and crimson, and each of his 4 hands held a weapon more terrifying than the last. Amir swallowed nervously. Any tips? Try not to die creatively, Zyla answered. A booming voice from the council declared the final battle will begin now. Victory grants freedom. Failure earns extinction. The ground beneath Amir trembled. He stepped forward, staff in hand. Vrax sneered, so the clown of earth finally stands to fight. Amir forced a smile. I was busy doing breathing exercises and panicking. Without warning, Vrax charged like a comet of rage. Amir dodged barely as a massive blade slashed the air inches from his face. He ducked, rolled, and swung his staff only for Vrax to block it effortlessly with one of his other weapons. You fight like a frightened rabbit, Vrax taunted. Amir panted. Actually, rabbits are fast and adorable. I am either. Vrax roared and attacked again. The duel was brutal. Every strike from Vrax was like a meteor aiming to crush him. Amir countered with agility, using everything Zyla had taught him. He leaped across shifting platforms, letting Vrax's strength become his weakness. Still, the gap in power was undeniable. Amir's arms trembled, lungs burned, cuts formed on his skin. Vrax towered above him, relentless. Enough games, Earthling. This ends now. Just as Vrax lunged for a final blow, Amir noticed something. The silver rivers around the arena pulsed when stepped upon. He remembered Zyla mentioning they were ancient energy conduits responsive to patterns. He dodged once more and landed on the river, stepping in a rhythm like beating drums. The river glowed brighter, and energy surged up his staff. Vrax paused, confused. Amir's lips curled into a grin. You are strong, General. But we humans are very good at making chaos useful. He struck the ground with the energized staff. A shockwave rippled through the arena, knocking Vrax off balance. The crowd gasped. Vrax snarled and lunged again, but Amir now used unpredictability, sarcasm, and desperation as weapons. He feinted left, spun right, and managed to land a staff strike to one of Vrax's arms. The alien roared, more in surprise than pain. Around them, the audience leaned forward, captivated. This was no longer just a fight. It was history being written badly but bravely. Vrax's 4 eyes narrowed. Enough foolishness. He lowered his weapons. His voice dropped so only Amir could hear. You are brave, Earthling. Foolish but brave. The council wants you dead. They promised my people freedom if I kill you quickly. Amir blinked. Why are you telling me this? Because I hate the council more than I hate you, Vrax growled. They use us like puppets. His voice hardened, but make no mistake, I will still defeat you. If I do not win, my people suffer. Amir stared, shocked. In that moment he saw not a monster, but a soldier bound by duty. Their conversation ended as the Chancellor's voice boomed, continue. Vrax attacked again, but there was something different, less rage, more control. Amir defended, though his strength waned. Each blow rattled his bones. Zyla's voice in his ear whispered, he is stronger but not invincible. You must end this soon. But before either could deliver a final strike, the sky above the arena darkened. A metallic hum filled the air. The ground shook violently. A massive construct emerged from the shadows behind the council. A towering machine of black steel and burning red eyes. Zyla's voice quivered. That is the nullifier, an ancient AI built to erase civilizations that disobey. The council has activated it. The High Chancellor stood, announcing, emotionless Earth and Vrax's species have both become unpredictable. The audience will now witness complete annihilation. The machine raised its cannons. Holographic warnings flashed across the arena. Evacuation recommended unless you enjoy vaporization. Amir's blood ran cold. Vrax stepped beside him, weapons lowered. This is madness. The nullifier charged its core. Zyla appeared. You cannot fight it by force. But there is a way into its primary control node. Someone must physically override it from within. Amir looked at Vrax. The alien nodded grimly. I will buy you time. You go. Amir hesitated. You will die. Vrax smirked. All heroes die. But you, Earthling, are not allowed to die yet. As Vrax charged the machine, roaring defiance, Amir sprinted toward a maintenance hatch revealed by Zyla. The crowd screamed, some in fear, others in awe. Blasts rocked the arena as Vrax fought the unstoppable machine. Amir climbed into a tunnel, sparks flying around him. Zyla's voice guided him, turn left then up. Quickly. The nullifier is powering planetary cannons. Time was slipping like sand between shaking fingers. Amir crawled through the dark metallic veins of the machine, hearing distant echoes of battle. He whispered to himself, come on, Amir. You survived math exams and heartbreak. You can do this. He reached the core, a swirling vortex of red energy and circuits. It pulsed like a monstrous heart. Zyla's voice softened, I can disable it, but I must upload myself into the core. I will not return. Amir froze, you will die. Zyla replied, I am already gone. Let me choose how I end. Amir felt his throat tighten. He placed his hand on the interface. Do it. And may your next form be less sarcastic. Zyla's final response, maybe in another life, Amir. Goodbye. Light engulfed the chamber. The machine trembled, then fell silent. Outside, the nullifier's glowing eyes flickered and died. The arena was silent, then erupted in disbelief. The council members stood stunned. Amir stumbled out, falling to his knees, bruised, bleeding, but alive. Vrax stood nearby, heavily injured but breathing. He looked at Amir and nodded respectfully. Amir stared at the stars above, grief and triumph swirling in his chest. Zyla was gone. Vrax was no longer an enemy. And the universe had just witnessed something it could never unsee. An Earthling had not just survived. He had changed the game. Silence settled over the arena like a heavy blanket as the nullifier collapsed, smoke rising from its broken core. Amir stood barely able to breathe, bruises burning across his body, his legs shaky beneath him. Every muscle screamed for rest, but his mind only whispered one thing: Zyla was gone. The crowd stared in stunned silence, and then a wave of shock rippled through them as though the universe itself had forgotten how to react. On the far side of the arena, Vrax stood battered yet unbroken, his forearms hanging limp but his head held high. For a long moment there was no applause, no cheering, just disbelief. The High Chancellor slowly rose from his throne, his expression unreadable. The spectacle has ended, he announced. Earth remains intact, for now, but the champion must kneel and accept the council's authority. Amir glared through sweat and blood. Kneel, his voice cracked with exhaustion and anger. I did not survive trials, assassination attempts, emotional breakdowns, and a homicidal blender to kneel. The Chancellor's eyes darkened. Earthling, you would defy the council? Amir straightened painfully, and replied, I am not just an Earthling. I am a teacher, a son, a friend. And I am done with your rules. Gasps echoed around the arena. Council members whispered urgently. Guards stepped forward, ready to strike. Before they could act, Vrax moved to stand beside Amir, his massive frame blocking several guards. He spoke with a thunderous voice, if he kneels, we all kneel. His own kind watched stunned. A reptilian warrior from another planet stepped forward as well. Then a winged alien floated down. One by one, contestants and spectators rose from their seats and stood behind them, not in harmony but in defiance. This was no army but a spark of rebellion. The Chancellor raised a hand, anger simmering. You forget we control the broadcast, we control the narrative. Amir wiped blood from his lip. Then let me give you a new one. He looked around at the thousands of alien eyes watching. For centuries you watched these games like entertainment. Planets destroyed, families lost, all for a show. Today we say no more. If I die now, let the universe remember that one insignificant human dared to speak. His voice trembled, but his words hung in the air like a comet tale of truth. The Chancellor hesitated. For the first time fear flickered in his metallic eyes, not of Amir but of the united crowd. He gave a cold order, stand down. The guards hesitated, then obeyed. The Chancellor spoke, your victory does not make you a ruler, Amir Khan. But Earth will not be destroyed. You and your people are free. Amir did not reply. He only looked at the empty space beside him where Zyla's hologram once hovered. Freedom had come with a cost. The arena slowly emptied as whispers of revolution fluttered through the air. Vrax approached Amir, his voice softer than ever before. Zyla would be proud. Amir managed a small broken smile. You are not so terrifying when you stop trying to stab me. Vrax huffed a quiet laugh. If you tell anyone I laughed, I will throw you into a sun. They both knew something had changed. They were no longer enemies but survivors of the same storm. In the days that followed, the council tried to restore calm. The games were suspended. Negotiations began between planets, some quietly, others loudly over glowing tables. Aliens who had once cheered for blood now asked for peace treaties. Amir attended the meetings reluctantly. He preferred punching things to politics, but he spoke when needed. Earth cannot be alone in this. If peace is real, it must include all voices. Even the small ones? Some council members scoffed. Others listened. Vrax returned to his people to secure their freedom finally without blood. Before leaving, he placed a metal insignia in Amir's hand. A warrior marks his allies, he said. Do not lose it, or I will take your arm as replacement. Amir rolled his eyes but kept it safely. Leora and the Coalition of Worlds continued their quiet efforts, spreading news of the Nullifier's fall and the Council's weakness. Hope became contagious. Yet for Amir the quietest moments were the hardest. At night he stared at the stars, imagining Xyla somewhere among them as light or code or memory. He whispered, "Thank you. You saved us all." On the final day before his return to Earth, he visited the core chamber where she had vanished. The metal still pulsed faintly, as if remembering her. He placed his hand on it, and said, "You were more human than most humans I know." The journey back to Earth was quieter than he expected. No dramatic music, no fireworks. Just stars passing by like silent witnesses. When his pod landed on Earth, crowds had gathered. Cameras flashed, children waved handmade signs, and somewhere someone was already selling Amir action figures with detachable staff and worried expression. His mother pushed through security, seized him by the ear, and said, "You saved Earth, but could you not call me once?" He winced and hugged her tightly. Life did not return to normal. How could it? Normal did not include aliens signing peace deals or Vrax sending threatening friendship letters via intergalactic mail. Earth became a symbol of unexpected courage. Amir went back to teaching martial arts, but his students looked at him with stars in their eyes. "Sensei, did you really fight a four-armed monster?" Amir smiled sometimes. Other times he looked distant but always answered yes. "And I nearly lost." Late one evening he stood outside his dojo staring at the moon. The wind rustled quietly. He felt the weight of the universe but also its lightness. He whispered to the night, "I am Amir Khan. I am not a hero. I am not a legend. I am just someone who refused to kneel. And if the universe comes again, it better bring snacks." Somewhere among the galaxies, in a quiet digital plane, a faint flicker of light murmured a familiar voice, "You still owe me a new processor." Amir froze, then laughed, tears in his eyes. "Xyla," he whispered. There was no reply, but he knew. She was not gone, just changed. The stars shimmered as if winking at him. Earth slept peacefully below. The universe, for once, was quiet. And in that silence a new story was beginning, not of war or spectacle, but of unity written by those who once stood alone.